Welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. Ask any questions or in the comments or use the hashtag QBAT on Twitter. If you need any more advice, please do join the official Intuit QuickBooks SME community group on Facebook, where accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Now, during the live session today, we will be running a poll, so please do engage with it, and I'll be revealing the results at the end of the show. So thank you to everyone for joining me again on this show. A little bit of information about me. My name is Eriona. I'm the Managing Director of Majors Accounts. In terms of my qualification background, I am a qualified Chartered Certified Accountant with the ACCA. I have a Master's in Accounting and Finance and a Master's in Law in International Banking and Finance. I've also recently completed a postgraduate diploma with the University of Oxford in Strategic Finance. So for me, studying, I think, is done. And I'm also a member of the QuickBooks Accountants Council and a member of ACCA's UK Practitioner Network and ACCA's SME Global Forum member. So I've been working now in practice for the last 13 years alongside my studies, which has been great in ensuring that I've enhanced my studies backed with, the experience from small practice, where you really get to see everything, how business functions, how it works, what their pain points are, investigating ways of providing solutions to those pain points, and finding ways to help small businesses grow or become more profitable or achieve whatever their goals may be. So who are Majors Accounts? So we are a small accountancy practice based in Southeast London. We provide support mainly to the SME space, so whether they're owner-managed businesses usually, whether they're self-employed or limited companies in a wide range of industries. To name a few, construction, hospitality, financial services, IT, hairdressers, barbers, nurseries, pubs, bars, restaurants, and so on. So since becoming managing director, I have spearheaded and implemented a digitisation strategy within the firm of becoming a paperless office. We are now pretty much there, and I'm proud to say that we are also a QuickBooks online only practice. So we've tried to become somewhat experts in this space. So now within our firm, everything can be done online using an array of really amazing technology and apps which all feed into QuickBooks to create an elevated experience, not only for our team who are using the cutting edge technology, but being ahead of the game for our clients also. Now clients do not need to come in and see us if they don't want to, so there's a convenience and time saving there, and it allows for our national and soon to be global reach. So we've got clients from Isle of Wight all the way down, from Ireland all the way down to the Isle of Wight, and the idea of this strategy that we've implemented is to bring the client-accountant relationship closer. We are a family-run practice, so we like to treat our team and clients alike. Like family. It's one of our core values, and we believe it helps to build an excellent rapport. It also helps to provide a more personalized service, and then coupled with the expertise built up from years of experience, it just works so much better for all parties involved. And the idea of adoption of technology is to bring us closer so we can be the virtual finance director for our clients who often wear all hats of the business, don't have time to be really analyzing what their figures mean and how that's translating into profitability or growth and so on. So our efforts haven't gone unnoticed. Over the last few years, Majors Accounts was nominated for Independent Firm of the Year for Greater London by the British Accountancy Awards. That's the last 2 years in a row. I myself have been nominated for a few awards, one Top 50 Women in Accounting, and for 3 awards by the Women in Finance and Accounting 2020. So we've also been featured in the Parliamentary Review magazine 2017-18 in the financial services sector of showcasing best practice in our arena. Now, enough about me. Currently, obviously, everyone is aware of the situation with COVID. Businesses have been affected massively worldwide. In the UK, obviously the economy shrunk in April. It was announced that it shrunk by 20%, which is a huge amount. And many businesses as a result have had to close because they've had no choice due to restrictions. Therefore, they're not generating any income. And we don't really know how long this will last, or we don't really know what's happening, whether we're coming or going. We're, closing one day, opening the next, reducing restrictions and so on. But not many have planned for this effectively. I'm not sure how you can plan for a global pandemic, but one of the main issues has been that businesses have not had the adequate cash reserves to continue going, to be able to pay for some of their expenses whilst they're not generating income. And as a result, many will not know if they're going to have a business to go back to once everything dies down, because it will eventually. So in this time, businesses should have been using this as an opportunity to pivot whilst they haven't been working, to really think of ways of adding new service lines or changing the way that they're offering current services to be able to keep trading. Now, some have done this really well, and some haven't really been sure what they could do. But during this time, obviously the government have been introducing a number of reliefs and grants available to try and help businesses to at least stay afloat during this period. Now, since my last session, there were a few announcements, a few changes to the previous announcements, which were, let's be honest, quite difficult to understand anyway. But as a result of the recent local lockdowns, the grants that were available have been made slightly more generous, which I'll go into now. So one of those is the business grant support. So there is an extra up to £2,100 for businesses affected by Tier 2 restrictions, primarily in the accommodation, leisure and hospitality sector. Now, this is connected to your business rates and how much they are. So anyone with business rates of under 15,000, they will get £934 per month. Anyone from 15 to 51,000 of business rates, they will get £1,400 per calendar month. And anyone with rates of over 51,000, they will get the £2,100. Also, grants of up to £3,000 for businesses who are also legally required to close are available, and these can actually be backdated to August. So it's estimated around 150,000 businesses could benefit from this in England. The other change that was made to the job support scheme, so employer contributions has reduced to just 5%, and it was previously 33% when it was first announced. The employee working hours has gone down to 20%, also previously 33%, so employees can basically work just one day a week to be eligible for this. The government will now fund up to 61.67% of the wages of hours not worked, up to a maximum payment of £1,541.75 per employee. Now, the use of this scheme will be available to businesses of all alert levels, and the employers will still be eligible to get a job retention grant bonus, of £1,000 for these employees, even if they're only working one day a week. Now, the self-employed grants as well, there has been a slight improvement to this. So previously, when it was announced, it was said that the trading profits grant would only be 20% of whatever the trading profits are, but this has now increased or doubled to 40%. So it's gone up from £1,875 to £3,750. And you must have been affected by coronavirus, obviously, to be able to benefit from this scheme. Now, this starts from the 1st of November, but there will be a review in about 3 months' time to this, depending on what the percentages are. They could go back down to 20, they could stay at 40, they could increase. You never know, depending on where we're going to be in 3 months' time. Now, there have been specific measures as well for Scotland. So there is some support for online businesses. So in Scotland, there has been launched £1 million scheme called Scotland Loves Local scheme to support town centres and to promote online businesses. So there will be business grants of £500 to £5,000 to help advertise businesses to facilitate online sales. So that's businesses who are on the high street, for example, but they're not able to open, so they will get that grant to try and get them online and kind of have that facility to be able to provide online sales. In Northern Ireland, there has also been a support scheme launched, so the COVID restrictions business support scheme. So businesses affected with within the health protection coronavirus restrictions #2 regulations, Northern Ireland 2020, but they're not eligible for localised business support schemes. The business must be in the supply chain of businesses affected by the regulations and has been significantly impacted as a result. And they must be operating in Northern Ireland, but has to have been trading immediately before the 16th of October. So for businesses not included in the scope of funds already allocated to executive departments to respond to COVID restrictions. And the business must also have been required to close, but they're not eligible for localised business support schemes. They are also entitled to £600 per week. And the financial measures in Wales, so announced recently, there's a £300 million fund. So every business affected and covered by the small business rates relief will receive a £1,000 payment, and small and medium-sized retail and hospitality and leisure could receive a one-off payment of up to £5,000 if they are forced to close. And there are additional discretionary grants and support for smaller businesses struggling, but I imagine these will be up to the different local councils, and there will be different schemes available, and I'm guessing we will hear more about those. And the previously announced £80 million to help businesses develop in the longer term has increased now to £100 million, but £20 million has been ring-fenced for the tourism and hospitality industry, which I guess makes sense. At the moment, they're one of the industries really suffering. So that's a quick roundup of what is available at the moment and some of the changes that have been made to previous announcements. I'm going to start taking questions now. I have a question from Andrew from Facebook, who says, how do businesses claim the several support and help schemes being announced in the new tiered lockdowns? Do we need to reach out to respective local council authorities, or is there a central system for this? So at the moment, because of the fact that this is just happening right now, a lot of cities and towns are going into restrictions at the moment. There hasn't been much information on how these schemes will be applied for, but I believe this is something that will be announced very soon because the support has just been announced. I expect this week we'll see how we'll be able to claim for them, but I imagine it will be from the local councils, as with the previous grants of £10,000, for example, that were available to businesses. We have a question from Robert from Facebook Messenger, who says, when does the employer contribution reduce to 5% from the current 33% under the job support scheme? So the job support scheme, this will be effective from the 1st of November, and this will be essentially replacing the coronavirus scheme at the moment. So from the 1st of November, you can go on and use this scheme, and there will be obviously that reduction. The scheme that was announced previously, that's basically those percentages that were announced previously have been scrapped and changed to these new percentages. So you will always, from the start, from the 1st of November, use these percentages for employees' hours or days that they are not working. We have a question from Ezra from Twitter, who says, hi Eriona, according to last week's announcements, grants to the self-employed will double to a maximum of £3,750. I hadn't claimed anything before as my business was okay, but now I want to make use of this. How do I know if I'm eligible and how to apply? So you can actually apply for these schemes if you haven't applied before. You just have to be able to prove that since maybe extra lockdowns, or depending on the type of your business, you have to show that you have been affected by coronavirus, and as a result your profits have depleted and you need that support from the government. As long as you can support this with figures, bank statements, sales, then you should be okay to apply. And as long as you've obviously submitted your last 2 years tax returns at least, although they are going on 1 year as well, but I would suggest last 2 years if possible, then you should be fine. Just the only thing that I would say is make sure you keep this documented, just because I imagine HMRC will be going back and investigating, and they will be investigating up to 6 years in the future. So they could come at any time within that period to kind of ask, were you eligible for this claim or not? I hope that's helped. So we have a question now from Lynn Murray from Facebook, who says, are there any other grants available, and what is the grant called if you're self-employed? We are a plumbing business. So the self-employed grant is obviously the one that's available that I just discussed a moment ago, where you will get 40% of trading profits. This will be for up to 3 years tax returns, but they can go on less. There have been people that have used just 1 year because other 2 years weren't available. But if you are self-employed, then you can make use of this scheme. You just have to prove that the situation at the moment has affected your business. So whether you're a plumbing business or any kind of business, if you're self-employed and you've been affected, then you can make use of this scheme. We have a question from Mari from Facebook, who says, I want to ask about the Kickstart scheme. As an employer, how can I apply, and what are the benefits in terms of funds that I can claim, and what will the payment schedule be like? So the Kickstart scheme is a great scheme for, so they're jobs made available for 16 to 24-year-olds who would have otherwise been in unemployment. The government will provide £1,500 per person that is taken on, and this is a scheme for 6 months, and the government will pay for 25 hours a week, the national minimum wage for that employee. Now, if you want to take them on longer than this, for more hours, you can, but you'd obviously pay the difference. And if you want to pay them more, you can, but you pay the difference from the national minimum wage to whatever you have decided to pay them. In order to do this, though, to qualify for the scheme, you should the employer must be able to show that they're providing support to the employee or worker, not just in terms of kind of training them, but also working with them to improve their CV, working with them to improve things like key skills like being on time and working well within a team and so on. So you have to show that you are helping them to grow, to be able to find further jobs in the future. And it may be that you keep them on, great. If not, but at least you've provided them with that support going forward and long term. So the scheme is open at the moment, and we believe that obviously the first jobs will be available starting from November. Payments schedules, we don't know exactly what these will be like for the time being. I imagine they could be monthly, as with a lot of other schemes similar to this, for example, the job retention scheme, but this will obviously be paid directly into the employer's bank account. And there's that nice £1,500, as I mentioned at the start, to help with the running costs and any expenses. And this is a great scheme to really take some staff on, and for it not to be too much of an expense for you, because essentially you're going to be training these people and they'll need time to really come up to speed, and where you will start seeing the benefits of them. So this is, I think, an amazing scheme. The only thing is you can do one only at a time. So once one 6-month scheme has ended, then you can take on somebody else for another 6 months until we're told obviously the scheme has ended. We have a question now from Azaya from Facebook, who says, morning Eriona, my question is on behalf of a few of us local business owners in Yorkshire. What are the top 2-3 things business owners should focus on and prepare for returning to business post these lockdowns? Okay, during this time, I would have said that you should have really been looking at ways to change your business and the way that it currently provides a service or products or whatever your business is. You're going to need to be focusing on the changes that may have made to see how you can integrate them into your business to work long term for you. And it could be a completely new service line for you in the future. But during this time, obviously, easing your way back into businesses, and with employees, for example. I know when we started to go back around May time as a business, we brought in a third of our team and on shift basis so they could slowly transition back to work, because don't forget, for some people, employees will have possibly not been working for up to 6 months, and coming straight back into work with full hours as before is going to be difficult for them. So to ensure that you've got the most efficient and happy staff, because when they're happy, they're going to be more willing to work for you and they'll do a better job. Possibly ease them in. I think that that's one of the things for the employees, and yourself as well, depending on, again, what kind of business. It could be hours that are not necessarily, full hours as before. So you don't open up fully, but you transition slowly, which could help with some of your expenses, depending on, whether you have a premises or not. But if possible, I would be looking at how you can go online, how you should be letting your surrounding area know that you have reopened, whether that's on social media. It could even be posting. I mean, not many people do this, but it can be effective, whether it's posting even leaflets or putting it somewhere on a local site. I know there are community groups on Facebook, for example, but also possibly newspaper, just to let them know that we're open again, and back to work as normal. You may again also want to do with clients appointment basis only, but these are all small ideas which depend on what kind of business that you have. If I was to know a little bit more, maybe I could provide some more suggestions. I hope that's helped though. We have another question now from Nathaniel from Twitter, who says, I'm a self-employed fitness instructor. Business has been very slow for me and I'm behind on my tax payments as well. Are there government schemes outside the SEIS or that I can avail? One thing that I would say with tax payments, as with many people now, they're going to be behind with tax payments. Now, there has been obviously a chance for the payment on account that was due in July, that has been pushed to the 31st of January to try and help businesses with those payments for self-assessment. But if you foresee that actually business is not picking up and you're not going to be able to make those payments, give HMRC a call, and at the moment they are agreeing payment terms and kind of payment plans. So you let them know, this is what I can afford at the moment. They may ask for a payment up front, just a small notional payment of whatever you can make, and they will agree a payment that you will be able to make. Now, obviously, if business does pick up and you find that actually you are able to pay them, you can pay that off whenever you want to, but at least you have that peace of mind that you won't be getting penalties and so on with those tax payments. So you can keep some cash to help your cash flow, to possibly help invest in trying to make everyone aware that you're still available, and possibly you'll be able to provide online support. I know there have been a lot of fitness instructors that have been kind of working that way, so you could do a Zoom with your clients and kind of getting them through things. I know it's not the same, but it's something to keep you going. But that is something that I would say is kind of best and available to you. There's obviously the bounce back loans, which I don't know, it's not a grant, it's a loan which you have to pay back, but that's something that could help you momentarily with cash flow. And with those schemes, you can keep the money for 12 months without paying anything back. And if you find after 12 months actually you don't need it anymore, then you can pay it all back without having any kind of expense. So something to think about, I would say. We have a question from Irfan from Instagram, who says, what are the updates on VAT reduction for the hotel and hospitality sector? So I haven't actually seen many updates on this since obviously they were announced a few months ago where they were reduced significantly. I imagine that this will continue for the time being because the hospitality sector has been affected massively by this. And obviously with some places under much stricter lockdowns, if you're from one area, you can't go into an area with a different alert level, so which will affect many businesses like hotels and the hospitality sector. We have a question from Bran from Twitter. As we go into lockdown, my 6 employees will be on leave. Will I be able to claim statutory sick pay on this basis? No, statutory sick pay is for those that are actually sick. So if they have coronavirus, for example, you can claim statutory sick pay from the day that they start seeing symptoms. Obviously this is around £90 a week only, but otherwise if they're on leave, that's counted as part of their normal pay. So depending on how much leave they have in the year, this will fall under one of the job retention schemes that are available at the moment. And that also depends on obviously whether you're forced to close or not. There are different schemes available, but definitely something that will be available to you, but I wouldn't go for statutory sick pay unless they're actually sick, just because generally you will get less than the other schemes that are available at the moment. We have a question from Francesca, who is a self-employed consultant. She says, I've deferred from my July self-assessment tax bill amount. Is the due date still 31st of January, or has there been any extension to this? So obviously the date is the 31st of January, but you can, and there's nothing stopping you calling HMRC and agreeing a time to pay. They obviously, it has also been there have been a few schemes that have been extended, so you can pay, I believe, up to a year, so in equal monthly installments a year after 31st of January, but this is something that you need to call HMRC for and agree a time to pay. So at least you will know you won't have those penalties. Now there have been, actually, it's a little bit cheeky from HMRC, but those who haven't paid the July tax that was due, the payment on account, they have passed this on to debt collectors, and I've seen myself a lot of my clients getting letters from debt collectors, and they will try it. They'll say you haven't paid your July payment, you have to make it. But if you do get something like this, please don't pay it if you can't. Don't feel stressed if you can't, because the government legislation allowed for it to be extended to the 31st of January. So possibly just let them know and call HMRC, because HMRC has been saying, oh, we didn't know, that shouldn't have been sent out. So just please take care when getting those letters. Unfortunately, I don't have any more time for any more questions. However, the poll results are in. So we asked you, have you prepared your business for the new tiered lockdown? So 17% answered yes and 83% said no. Now this is kind of worrying. I know this is something that wasn't expected, and businesses have had to try and think of ways to make changes so that they can be, they can keep trading during these lockdowns. We don't know if they're going to be 2 weeks, if they're going to be a month, whether it's going to be 3 weeks or so on. But don't be too stressed. Just use the same techniques as you have done during lockdown for those that were able to pivot. For those that weren't, hopefully you've used this time to try and think of new ways of working and trading, and just use those techniques. So as I mentioned before, you need to find ways of pivoting to and fro, depending whether we go into lockdown, whether it's stricter or whether they're eased. So it's finding that balance basically in the ways that you're working. Now, unfortunately, that's it from me today, but if you have any questions, then please do get in touch with the QuickBooks support team or myself. I can be contacted directly by email at eriona@majorsaccounts.com. You will also be able to find us on all social media channels at Majors Accounts, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn or Instagram. And on our website, we also have a dedicated news section, which is updated as and when information or new information is made available from the government. So please do read that. And also we have an app which has a dedicated COVID-19 section with all grants that are available. So please do go to our website and download that. Now, coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Shoaib Aslam. Shoaib is a CEO and founder of Pearl Accountants, which uses technology to increase productivity and eliminated wasted time. So please do tune in and get growth and productivity advice for your business. A reminder that if you need any more advice, do join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. I've really enjoyed answering your questions this morning, and I hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week.